We have analysis now from Jamil Jaffer, founder and executive director of George Mason's National Security Institute. Where do you want to start on this, Jamil? I'd like to start with what the president said through his spokesperson there. Yeah, we knew about it, but essentially I'm not very happy about the way it was carried out, it sounded to me.
Yeah, Connell, very interesting statement from the president. You know, it's also unusual. Caroline typically goes to the podium and will speak extemporaneously. So in this case, having been given a specific statement to read, you can assume the president signed off on this statement. And the tough words he's had for Israel, suggesting that it was not advancing the ball, but while still lauding the idea of going after Hamas, is a very interesting sort of middle ground the president's trying to steer here. It's surprising he didn't come out aggressively and just say, look, Hamas responsible for the October attacks, wherever they are. As the U.S. hunts people down, Israel can hunt people down as well. Clearly, he's trying to ensure that Qatar stays on our side, that we sort of remain in good stead with Qatar, hosting, as Kelly pointed out, the largest U.S. base in the Middle East, the Combined Air Operations Center, where we run all of CENTCOM's air missions out of, an important major non-NATO ally designated so by President Biden a couple of years ago. So we'll see how this plays out, but clearly the president not thrilled with not knowing about this ahead of time. It appears, even based on what Caroline said there at the podium, as related by Kelly, you know, that the president had been informed by the U.S. military of these strikes, not by the Israelis. I think that might also have him concerned. So we'll see how this plays out when the president speaks to reporters here in a few hours.
Absolutely. I'm thinking back to the president's recent trip to the Middle East, and the Qataris, they're not the only ones, but they had some big numbers, right, that they were promising to invest here. And I'm just wondering if that's going through the president's mind. But you have two allies, obviously, Israel and Qatar. So it's you know, sounds like the Israelis, in the president's view, may put them in a pretty tough spot here today.
Well, here's the thing, Connell. Look, at the end of the day, the U.S. is taking the same position that Israel is taking here, which is no matter where in the world you are, if you're a terrorist that comes after the United States, in this case, Israel, we will hunt you down and we will find you. That means in friendly countries. You know, Israel's done this before. If you remember back to Black September in the 70s and 80s, they went around the world, including in Europe, and killed these terrorists. And so it's perhaps not surprising. We've seen a few of these here in the Middle East as well. So we'll see what happens going forward.
We go back to Netanyahu for a moment. We heard a clip from him earlier, but to drive this point home about what he is using or articulating to justify the strikes, here's what the Israeli Prime Minister said earlier, speaking in English.
At noon today, I convened the heads of Israel's security organizations and authorized a surgical precision strike on the terrorist chiefs of Hamas. These are the same terrorist chiefs who planned, launched, and celebrated the horrific massacres of October 7th. I promised that Israel would reach those who perpetrated this horror. And today, Israel and I have kept that promise.
Now, Jamil, the Hamas is claiming today that they didn't get the top people, okay? They say it was 5 lower-level people who were killed. You know, either way, the Prime Minister is basically arguing, hey, these are the guys that went after us on October 7th. We get that. Furthermore, Israel said, though, that this could be moving towards ending the war. Do you believe that?
Well, look, I mean, if you're Hamas, if you believe your leadership will be targeted anywhere in the world, and, you know, the Israelis have been very successful at taking out senior Hamas and other terrorist leadership here in the last 2 years, that might force you to come to a resolution if you don't think you're safe in Qatar, where, you know, Khalid Mashal and Ismail Haniyeh, before he was killed in Tehran, lived for many years. So if you don't think you're safe there, that might push you to negotiate. At the same time, if the Qataris aren't involved in negotiation, it's hard to see how these negotiations and any sort of deal goes forward. You know, look, Connell, the really important thing here, though, is the U.S. has said this, too. If you're unwilling or unable to stop your nation from being used as a base for terrorism, we will come after you. We've done it in Pakistan. We've done it in Yemen. So, you know, Qatar, obviously an American ally, it's a problem, but it isn't unlike what we've done elsewhere in the world as well.
Well, it is kind of interesting, you know, as a final point, there was speculation the other day that there might have been more coordination. And who knows? I guess it's possible that there was between Israel and the United States, but now the Trump statement through Caroline Leavitt seems to be pushing back on that. But this idea that Netanyahu and Trump may have been working together when Trump basically gave Hamas a kind of a final warning. You remember that the other day?
No, that's exactly right. So maybe this is the carrying out of that, or maybe that was what pushed Netanyahu to think he could take this attack. We'll see. I mean, the president's statement so far through Caroline isn't a surprise. It's less hawkish and less supportive of Israel than you might otherwise think. And so we'll see if he walks that back in his next conversation with reporters.
We should have him live in the next hour. Jamil, as always, thank you. Jamil Jaffer.